Chapter 45. What the hell, Jack? I am not usually a Killzone DM. In general, I always try to give characters a chance to hurt themselves without my help. But this time I just had to ask. Jack, what is your character doing? Swinging his sword around and making a dramatic speech in the face of almost certain doom, of course, what else? You know, you did just hold the key to Galarian's destruction in your hands just a moment ago. Oh. Well, what did you do with it? Oh, I guess I... Wait, no one would be that careless. Make an int roll. If you roll a 12 or more, your character didn't suddenly forget what he was doing. He rolls, everyone at the table is clearly tense. He manages it by just a thread. A quiet shit is heard, only to have it kicked out of his hand by Hassan. Dungeon Master, says Hassan. Remember that portal I wanted to use later on to get to Absalom? Yes, I do. Well, I kind of need to use it right about now. I run like hell. Chapter 46. Contingency Plans. Meanwhile, in high orbit above Galarian, 45 iron golems reeking with obliteration start falling down onto the planet. It wouldn't be instantaneous. After all, geostationary orbit is about 35,000 kilometers, that is to say, 22,000 miles, from sea level. But it would certainly be catastrophic. Of course, had the party actually tried to be the heroes for once, they could have stopped them. I actually hinted at it quite directly to them. But at that point, other things were in motion. Initially, the group tried to go after Hassan, but they quickly lost track of him. Just when Valinar attempted to track him with magic, the rogue returned. Quickly, through the portal! It's all according to plan. It took some convincing, but eventually Hassan got to their senses about what he intended to do. When the golem started hitting Absalom, it would open a tear into the cathedral and make the way readily available to get to the Starstone, which Hassan hoped would grant them godhood. It was a very long shot. No one knew if the cathedral could actually be opened that way. After all, if it could, someone else was bound to have tried it, right? But they weren't thinking so clearly at the moment. Of course, none of them knew that it was Hassan who had pulled the strings to get the bell into Bab Ganoush's hands in the first place, or that he was well aware of what would have happened if it had been disenchanted, or that he had tried to bring all the golems down on his own only to be thwarted by the fact they had specifically designated the trigger to work with all of them present as a sort of nuclear safe key. So they get to Absalom, where everyone is staring at the 5 points of light rushing towards the city. Word had already spread about what had happened in the south, how the seas were rising, and the skies were flailing, and the land was breaking apart after the fists from the gods had come crashing over Mekhitar. All we need to do now is wait until the golems crash down and obliterate the cathedral. Then we go in. Truth is, Hassan wasn't completely sure that it could work, but he kept telling me that he had this nagging feeling there'd be a way to make it work, and thus they wait.